The night felt different long before the first punch was thrown, like something unpredictable was waiting just beneath the surface. Under the glowing lights of Las Vegas, inside a packed Hilton Arena buzzing with tension, the world gathered to witness what many believed would be another routine display of destruction by Mike Tyson. At just 22 years old, Tyson wasn't just the undisputed heavyweight champion. He was a force that seemed almost untouchable, a whirlwind of speed and violence wrapped in a compact frame. But standing across from him that night was something rare, something unusual, a man who didn't just challenge Tyson's dominance, but his aura. Bruno looked less like an opponent and more like a physical anomaly, sculpted, towering, and built with the kind of raw power that made even seasoned fighters hesitate. From the moment Bruno stepped into the ring, there was a shift in perception. Tyson had faced dangerous men before, but this was different. Bruno didn't just belong in the ring with him, he looked like he might overpower him. With a towering height advantage, an 82-inch reach, and a physique that seemed carved from stone, Bruno carried himself with a quiet confidence that hinted at something deeper than just preparation. He wasn't intimidated, and that alone made the moment feel historic. For the first time in a long time, people weren't just wondering how quickly Tyson would win, they were wondering if he might actually be pushed to his limits. What made the tension even heavier was the storm surrounding Tyson outside the ring. His personal life had begun to unravel, filled with distractions, legal disputes, and emotional turmoil. Reports suggested his training had been far from ideal, his focus fractured at a time when precision mattered most. For a fighter whose dominance relied on intensity and discipline, even the slightest crack could prove dangerous. And Bruno knew it. He believed this was his moment, the perfect window to do what so many had failed to achieve. The bell rang, and the fight exploded into action almost instantly. Tyson didn't ease into it. He surged forward with the same ferocity that had dismantled champions before him, and within seconds, the crowd erupted as Bruno hit the canvas. It was a familiar sight, the kind that had defined Tyson's reign. It felt like the script was unfolding exactly as expected. But then something changed. Bruno got up. And not just physically. He stood there with composure, refusing to let the moment break him. Instead of collapsing under the pressure, he began to fight back, not recklessly, but with intention. He clinched when necessary, absorbed punishment when he had to, and most importantly, he started landing punches of his own. The fight, which had threatened to end almost as quickly as it began, suddenly transformed into something far more compelling. Then came the moment that stunned everyone. Out of the chaos, Bruno landed a clean left hook that caught Tyson off guard. For a brief second, the impossible seemed within reach. Tyson's legs reacted, his balance shaken just enough to send a ripple through the arena. It wasn't a knockdown, but it was enough to plant doubt, the kind of doubt that had never truly existed around Tyson before. The crowd didn't know how to react. This wasn't supposed to happen. Tyson wasn't supposed to be touched like that. But what followed would define the fight. Bruno hesitated. In that split second where opportunity and hesitation collided, the moment slipped through his fingers. Against most fighters, that might not have mattered. Against Tyson, it meant everything. Because once Tyson regained his rhythm, there was no turning back. The fight settled into a brutal rhythm, one defined by Tyson's relentless pressure and Bruno's desperate resilience. Bruno continued to show flashes of brilliance, especially with his left hand, but each exchange chipped away at him. Tyson began targeting the body, digging in with punches designed not just to hurt, but to drain. It was methodical, almost surgical, a reminder that beneath the chaos of his style was a deep understanding of how to break an opponent down. Round by round, the balance shifted. Bruno, for all his strength and determination, began to slow. His punches lost their snap, his movements grew heavier, and the openings Tyson needed started to appear more frequently. And Tyson, sensing the shift, didn't hesitate. He closed the distance, unleashed combinations, and began to impose his will in a way that felt inevitable. By the time the fifth round arrived, the end was no longer a question of if, but when. Tyson trapped Bruno against the ropes and unleashed a barrage that felt almost overwhelming to watch. Uppercuts snapped his head back, hooks crashed into his guard, and the sheer force of it all pushed Bruno to the edge. He tried to hold on to survive, to buy even a few more seconds, but the damage had already been done. The referee stepped in as Bruno's corner threw in the towel, bringing an end to a fight that had delivered far more drama than anyone had anticipated. As the crowd roared, Tyson stood victorious once again, but this wasn't just another win. It was something more complex. For the first time, he had been tested by a man who matched him physically and challenged him mentally. And while Tyson ultimately proved why he was the champion, Bruno had shown the world that even the most dominant force could be pushed, even if only for a moment. In the aftermath, Tyson remained calm, almost analytical, acknowledging the danger Bruno had presented while reaffirming his own belief in his superiority. It was the mindset of a champion who understood both his power and his responsibility to maintain it. For Bruno, it was a valiant effort, one that earned respect even in defeat, proving that sometimes the fight itself becomes the legacy. This wasn't just a fight. It was a clash between dominance and defiance, between a champion at the peak of his powers and a challenger who dared to believe he could rewrite the story. And now the question turns to you. Was this one of the most underrated challenges of Tyson's career, or just another reminder of his unstoppable reign? Did Bruno miss his one true chance in that brief moment of hesitation, or was the outcome always inevitable? Let me know what you think, and if you want more deep, dramatic breakdowns of legendary fights like this, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next story that deserves to be told.